Welcome to Matematika. Today we're going to review in factoring quadratic trinomials. I want you to take note that factoring quadratic trinomials is the efficient way in solving quadratic equation, that is, when the quadratic is factorable, and also efficient way in finding the zeros of quadratic function. Second, factoring quadratic trinomials is the inverse of multiplying two binomials. That is using the FOIL method. I showed you in my previous video how you're going to multiply two binomials by using FOIL. Now today, we are going to go over what we have learned in the previous video and see what's gonna happen. So I have x squared plus 7x plus 6. So the factor form is x plus 1 times x plus 6. Okay? Let's do the inverse this time. When we multiply x plus 1 times x plus 6, using the FOIL method, we use first to first, that is x times x, then x times 6, then 1 times x plus 1 times 6. So simplifying, we come up with x squared plus 6x plus x plus 6. Okay, combine like terms. We have 6x plus x, that's 7x plus 6. All right, so we have the trinomial. Okay, what have you observed? Let's look at the first term. Our first term is x squared. Where did we get that x squared? Isn't it x squared is when we multiply the first term and to the first term of the second binomial? That means x squared is the product of the first term. How about 6? The last term. Isn't it? It's also the product of the two last terms of the binomial. So 6 is the product of the two last terms. Okay, let's see the middle term. Where did we get the middle term 7x? Isn't it? It's 6x plus x. And when we add it, that means we get the sum. All right? So it's not the product, but it is the sum of, the outside term, which is 6x, and the inside term. Okay, that is 1 times x. Okay, I hope you remember this thing when you did your algebra 2. All right, let's have an example. Usually, when we factor quadratic trinomials, we do, we usually do it by grouping. So let's do this. Let's factor the trinomial, factoring say polynomials. Okay, trinomial or polynomials. If we have 3, it's trinomials. So let's do by grouping. Right. So say for example, I'm gonna have example 1. I have 2x squared plus 5x plus 2. If you try to observe, our first term has a leading coefficient. That means there is a coefficient on the first term. Okay. First of all, you be sure that you write the expression in standard form. So what is standard form again? The standard form is ax plus by equals c. Okay, where a is the coefficient of the x term, b is the coefficient of y, and c is the constant. So if we try to identify, our 2 there is a, 5 is b, and c is 2. Alright. After knowing our a, b, and c, so I might write this as step 1. Okay, rewriting it in a standard form. So in step 2, we multiply the a and the c. So our a is 2, our c is 2. That is 4. Alright? So we multiply the a and c. In step 3, make a list of pairs of numbers whose product is equal to a times c. So list a pair of numbers and identify the pair of factors whose sum is b. Okay, what does it mean? So let's get the pair of numbers that will come up with the sum of 4. So I have, 1 and 4. Then I could we'll get the factor of 4. Then we have 2 and 2. I'm not considering any negative factor because our b is 5. Positive 5. So which of these two that will give us 5 when we add? So 1 and 4 is giving us 5. Okay. So in this case, in this step, we are getting the factors of 4. Let's do step 4. You are going to rewrite the trinomial as a 4-term polynomials with 2 linear terms whose coefficients are the values from step 3. That means I'm going to rewrite this again, okay, but it should be a 4th term this time. I'm going to use our factor 1 and 4, this one, to make it into 4 terms. So I will add 1x plus 4x, then plus the last term. Okay? Rewrite the trinomials. I am rewriting the trinomials here. Okay. Into 4 terms. So there are 4 terms now. Let's simplify. Oh, step 5. Let's do the grouping. So since it's 4 terms, we can group this 2x squared plus x and 4x plus 2. So I'm gonna write this here. 2x squared plus 1 or plus x and 4x plus 2. Okay, I did grouping and factor. So what is common in 2x squared plus x? The common is x. So 2x squared divided by x, that is 2x. X divided by x, that's equals to 1. How about 4x plus 2? What is common? Common is 2. 4x divided by 2, that is 2x. 2 divided by 2, that is 1. Okay? So what I'm doing is I group. After grouping, I did factor each group. Right? Then you can have the last steps that you have. Write down the common factor, which is 2x plus 1. That's a common between the two sets of factors. And the coefficient of each factor, you have to group that. So x and the other one is 2. So you have x plus 2. You have no problem with the sign here because our polynomials given are all positive. 2x squared plus 5x plus 2. So this is now the final answer. So this is the factor. 2x plus 1 times x plus 2. Alright, I hope you could remember the steps. And it's, when you are used to using the steps, and it will be easier for you, whatever polynomials that is given to you. Right? Let's have one example. One more example. 3x squared minus 8x plus 5. Alright? So, let's do the first step. This is already in standard form. That means our A is 3. The B is negative 8. And the C is 5. You have to watch out with, the negative 8 because we have a negative sign. Okay, that's important. Step 2. Well, okay, this is step 1. Step 2. Multiply the A times the C. So that means 3 times 5. That is 15. So step 3. Make a list of factors that will give you 15. List of numbers, pair of numbers that will give you 15. Now take note that our middle term is negative 8. That means we have to consider the negative factor this time. So I could start the list with, 1 and 15. I cannot have a negative, factor for that. I need a negative number. So I could have a negative 1 and a positive 15. or 1 and negative 15. Can I have by 2? No. By 3? So negative 3 and 5, and positive 3 and negative 5. Okay, what else do we have here? Did we do 3 and 5? How about, okay. How about if I have both negative? I could have both negative and negative 1 and negative 15 as well. Since we are getting, the sum. Okay. So I think I have 3, I have 1. These are the factors. Now next step. We'll have step 4. First of all, we have to find out which pairs of factors we're going to choose. Wherein when we add, it will give us a negative 8. Okay, negative 5, 15, no. 1 and negative, no. This is not. Negative 3 and 5, when we add, that's positive 2. 3, negative 5, when we add, it will give us negative 2. Negative 1 and negative 15 will give us negative 16. Negative 3 and negative 5 will give us a negative 8. So that means we found our pair of factors. So step 4, we're going to rewrite our, trinomial and make it into 4 terms. So this will become 3x squared. Okay, I will give a space here. I'm going to use a negative 3x minus 5x. Then plus 5. So there are 4 terms because we will be doing by grouping. Okay? By grouping. So we have, by simplifying, we come up with, 3x squared minus 3x minus 5x plus 5. Let's do the grouping this time. Step 5. So our group is 3x squared minus 3x. That's our first group. Then we can have the other group, negative 5x plus 5. Okay. Let's factor. Common is 3x. 3x squared minus 3x. That would be x minus 1. Okay? Common is 3x. See that? In the second factor, the common is 5. We put negative 5 out. So negative 5x divided by negative 5. That's x. Positive 5 divided by negative 5. That's negative 1. Alright? So what we did here is we group and we factor. So what will be our factor this time? Our answer. Write the common factor, which is x minus 1. And next, write down the the coefficient of its factor. So the first one is 3x, then minus 5. So you have your factor, x minus 1. So when you do it, the FOIL method, you will land with the answer of 3x squared minus 8x plus 5. Okay, I hope you remember this thing, class. You have reviewed in how to deal with it. In my next video, I'm gonna use also factor trinomials with no leading coefficient, and it will be a simple one. Okay, see you in my next video.